Welcome to the Hershey Podcast. This is Brandon.
And January.
And we are back.
We are.
We're always back. It seems like.
That's our theme. You know, we're sitting on our patio today, actually. So you might hear some background noises, but we live in sunny Arizona, which we love. But the summers get hot, and by about now, we're a little over it. And there's a little reprieve today. So we're sitting on our patio in our chairs across from each other. It's one of our favorite things to do, actually. If you guys could be a fly on the pillar on our patio and listen to our conversations at night, you would either absolutely love us or probably hate us if you're listening to us. But if you didn't like us because of those conversations you were listening to, it's probably just because we'd be pushing you to question some of your own beliefs and whatnot. So
yeah, I think a lot of people will be laughing at us.
I think so too.
'Cause we're pretty funny.
You know, and that's another thing too.
Well, we're pretty funny when it's just you and me and no one's listening.
That's right. We don't have to filter ourselves at all. It's really wonderful. It's my favorite conversations in the world because of that.
Me too.
And we get to, I don't know, just dig deep into certain topics and really question what we believe and talk things out, and we don't have to worry about anyone judging us or screenshotting the fucking conversation and putting it on a Facebook group. And then everybody comes to your Instagram and attacks you there too. And then you're like, you know what? Fuck the internet. Fuck you. And I'm done. Oh, wait. Is that just me? Am I the only one that thinks that?
You're not bitter though.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Not one bit.
Oh, man. Anyway, so you might hear some background noises today, and it's because we're on the patio instead of in our bedroom.
An occasional birds squawking.
I love it. I love nature.
We have a sponsor, though.
We do have a sponsor before we get into our banter back and forth. And I'm actually really, really excited about the sponsor today because I know her personally and I know her dedication to everything she does and how much she gives. And I met Nicole a few years ago, I think at a Birth Out Fear event. She's been to quite a few, and we've just kept in touch. She's come back, and then she asked if I wanted to go to Madison this year with the book. And I said, sure. And it was one of my favorite trips of this year, for sure. Maybe of the last 6 to 7 years. Everyone was just so sweet and supportive. And Nicole got so many just local sponsors and small business owners and local companies involved in sponsoring. And
she basically made it happen.
She did. She's amazing. She makes a lot happen. So that's perfect leading into Laurel and Fig. She made Laurel and Fig happen. This is her brainchild. It's her next baby, and it's incredible. She's a birth photographer, so she obviously is at a lot of births, a lot of different kinds of births, and follows up with her mamas and her family's postpartum. And being a mom herself, I think, like myself, when you go through your postpartum season, and postpartum is not postpartum depression. Postpartum is like the season after you have your baby. And you go through that, you realize there's just a lot lacking in the conversation and the support and even products. So she started Laurel and Fig to bring awareness to start preparing for postpartum, because most of us prepare for the birth of our baby for the entire about 10-ish months of pregnancy. But what about after that, right? So we're preparing for the birth, but we need to start putting more thought into that postpartum period. As moms, we don't need more blankets or onesies. We need things for us. We need pads, lots of pads, breast pads, nipple balm. We need to have these things ready to go so that when we come home with our precious baby, or once everyone leaves your home, if you have a home birth and you're there with just, you know, your partner or your baby, we can focus on healing ourselves and navigating through this very new journey as a mom and as a parent. So Laurel and Fig has postpartum boxes. Now, I have seen a lot of postpartum boxes over the years, and I'm telling you, this box is perfect. It's packed full of 10 awesome products that will help you get through the first few weeks of having a baby. Whether you're a first-time mom or a mom of 6, you will need these products every single time. So each box has a pack of maternity pads, 5 mesh undies, and if you've had a baby, you know those mesh undies save our lives. Depends, 8 Depends, 4 washable breast pads, nipple balm, perineal balm. These are things you might not realize you need till you're in it. And This is so neat. Right now it has the Birth Out Fear book in it because the last third of the book is about postpartum birth affirmations. And these birth affirmations are handmade by a local mama there in Madison as well. And I've seen them firsthand. I have some upstairs in my bedroom and I love them. A bracelet and booby tubes from Earth Mama to help with engorgement. So this is the perfect gift for yourself or to give to a mama for her baby shower or just to surprise her with, because it shows her that she matters too, that it's not just about the baby after baby is here. So Laurel and Fig also has some really rad body positive tees. You guys have seen me wear them on my Instagram. The Let's Talk Postpartum is my absolute favorite shirt right now. I wear it just as much as I wear my green dress.
It's hot.
Yeah, it's awesome. And tank tops that I love them. So go check out their website. Use code January, capital JANUARY, for 10% off if you want to try any of her products that she has there. Go follow her on Instagram. Laurel and Fig Co. is her Instagram handle, and just give some support to this postpartum conversation and the wonderful support that these boxes offer in her body positivity messages. I can't say enough. I cannot say enough about Laurel and Fig. So all the information will be in the show notes, and I'll be sharing about it on Instagram as well. And you can check that out.
And thank you, Nicole, for making shirts that look unbelievably sexy on my wife. I appreciate it.
Yes. The tank top, Dear Body, I Love You. Yeah, that's a good
That's one of my favorite pictures of you.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So speaking about postpartum and healing, I think that our topic today can apply to that. And that is being present, being in the moment, being mindful, practicing mindfulness. I know that we have had many, many conversations about this between the two of us.
Yes, we have.
We have. So what's the first thing that comes to your mind when someone says, be in the moment?
It solves a lot of problems. It solves a lot of them.
So what kind of problems?
Well, for example, most of my life, I'm one of these people that's a dreamer. I have big dreams and I'm constantly thinking about things in the future, goals I have, things I want, etc., etc. Always thinking about that. I'm also thinking a lot about the past, because a lot of times I'm thinking, oh, I should have done this differently. I should have done this way, or should have done that way. And so I'm always trying to will some kind of different outcome for the past that there's no way to make that happen. And so for pretty much most of my life, I feel like I had one foot in the past, one foot in the future.
Yeah.
And it's a constant tug of war. And you feel this constant guilt and shame over your past decisions. And then you feel this anxiety and worry about the future because you don't know what's going on. You want to try and control what's going to happen, and you can't. And so the minute you start thinking about just this moment right here, right now, you can't think of the past. You can't think of the future. You can't feel...
They don't exist.
Yeah, you
they
can't
literally
feel guilty
don't
or
exist.
shameful of what you may have done or not done. You can't feel worry, anxiety about what hasn't even happened, what doesn't even exist yet.
Yeah.
So all you can do is just feel, well, okay, I guess I'm alive. It's beautiful on the patio right now. The weather's great. I'm sitting with my wife. Things are good right now.
I have everything I need in this moment.
Yeah.
I used to say that to myself when we were living in Austin in the 2017 and 18 that I did a lot of events, or 16 and 17?
16 and 17.
Yeah. And during that time, people don't, you don't know everyone's life story and what's going on their day to day. And we were going through so much, and your mental health was suffering. Our relationship was suffering. Our family life was suffering, and our finance were certainly fucking suffering. And I remember I would be traveling to go do an event with people and leaving you guys at home. And you were struggling and having to leave my babies and my kiddos and having anxiety over them being safe, and then not having a lot of money, to travel with and, pay for hotel and food. And I would tell myself, I have everything I need right in this moment. Even if my accounts are negative, I wasn't sure how I was going to eat that night. If I was standing there and I was healthy enough and alive and I had breakfast, whatever it is, I'm like, I have everything I need in this moment. Even if it feels like a lie, it's like telling myself, like bringing myself back to this moment. I can't even worry about what's going to happen in 6 hours when I get to Spokane, Washington, or wherever it is, that I'll worry about that in 6 hours. Right now in this moment, I'm here. I got to the airport on time. My flight's not delayed. I am safe and it's okay. And it's, all this is easier said than done, don't you think?
It is. And I would like to say that I've figured this out and learned this and applied this, over the years. But truthfully, I had a pretty big life-changing moment almost 2 months ago now.
August 2nd.
I may or may not get into it at a later date, but all I will say is that it completely changed my life, and something snapped into place in my mind. And since then, I find it almost impossible to not be in the moment. I find that when I start getting stressed out is because there's either too much going on and I need to slow down, or my mind has deviated slightly into the future or the past, and so I just rein it in. But for the most part, it's mostly in the present at all times, and it's just been a life-changing experience for me, and it's been amazing.
Yeah, I think it's going to be different for everyone, because the things that you're saying now that are very wise on this podcast episode are, ideas you've read about in books. There are things that you've watched people in interviews talk about. We went to Anthony Robbins Live years ago. We used to watch Wayne Dyer and Byron Katie and all these people years and years and years ago.
Yes.
And they're things that I've told you for over 20 years. But until you had an experience that made you realize there was actually and literally no other way for you to survive and live unless you stay in the present moment, it didn't click for you until then.
No.
For me, this always came really naturally. And over the years, because of just life experience and traumas and whatever hormones, it's gotten harder for me. It doesn't come as easily. So for me, it's a practice. It's a daily practice and a daily choice. And I think for most of us it is. But for some of us like you, it literally takes a life-changing moment or something clicking in place or just, something big. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, well, that's great. If you can just naturally feel that way, or you can meditate and feel that way. But for some people, it takes a lot bigger of an experience or situation, or just finally clicking into place after 20 years of trying to get there. And that's okay too. And you're not the only one that, this is way easier said than done.
Well, I used to listen to people saying what I was just saying a few minutes ago, or I'd read it and I'm thinking, that's great, but how? Right. How do you get to that point? How do you get to the point where you just stay in the moment and everything's wonderful and perfect and you have no problems? Right? Because that's how it sounds.
Yeah, and that's the problem. That's the thing is right there is that if when you're staying in the moment, it doesn't mean you have no problems.
It doesn't
mean...
And
that's what people aren't talking about.
Right. However, this is something that I had kind of a realization on about a couple of weeks ago, I'd say at this point. And if you think about all of the moments in the day, so if you're constantly in the moment, and so let's just use 1 second as, our metric here. There are however many seconds in a day, thousands, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you are constantly in the moment, the majority of those seconds, the vast majority of those seconds, you're going to be okay. Things are going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of seconds where you are actually dealing with a problem or you have a problem is going to be very minimal. And this is something that I realized recently, and it really does put things in perspective. Like, wow, okay, if I can stay in the moment, then really the majority of this day is going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
There may be some hiccups along the way, and I'll deal with them in the moment. But for the most part, I think things are going to turn out okay today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really, I love how you put that. Out of all the seconds of the day, how many of them are you actually suffering?
Yeah, it's actually very minimal.
And then how many of them are you suffering because you're causing your suffering by living in the past or future? And I'm talking the past could be an hour ago.
Yeah.
You could have dealt with a nasty phone call an hour ago. Now, it's an hour later. Are you still dealing with that nasty phone call? No.
No.
The only thing you're dealing with is reliving it in your head over and over and over again. It doesn't even exist anymore. It's gone. It's only still alive and present because you're keeping it alive and present. So it kind of seems almost ridiculous if this is a concept that is new to you. And it's easy to be like, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about this happens? It's like if somebody is currently going through a trauma, no, you're not going to tell them that, obviously. But a year or two later, I've experienced some really bad traumas. A year or two later even, Am I still living through that trauma, or am I keeping it alive? And am I feeling that trauma, not only mentally, but physically? Our minds are powerful. You can feel it physically if it's in your mind. So I know I'm the one that's causing my suffering at this point, not somebody who hurt me a year ago. They're not causing my suffering anymore. I'm now causing it.
Right, because they hurt you a year ago. Yes,
Yes.
true. Are they hurting you currently today? No, they are not. And
Right.
so that's,
Right.
it's a good
And even if you're
realization.
dealing with something hard, let's say you're going through an hour in your day, or that something comes up that week or that month that's really, really hard. Well, being present and being mindful in the moment doesn't mean you're ignoring your problems or you never have a problem. So if a problem arises, then it's being present in the moment to deal with that problem, and being mindful of how to navigate and work through that problem. And instead of, like, when you have that feeling of panic, we all have things that make us panic or are really hard for us to deal with. When you have that feeling of panic, it's acknowledge it. Don't ignore it. Don't push it away, but don't let it take over. You acknowledge it. Okay, I feel that panic there, but I'm strong, I'm capable, and I can handle this. So now let me be mindful about how to approach this situation. And it will be a night and day difference on how you deal with things and how you react to things. So for me, another way of practicing mindfulness and being present is the affirmation that I control no one but me. I control no one but me.
So true.
I control no one but me. And that takes away just so much in your mind of like replaying conversations with people, or having a conversation with someone that they're not even present for because it's in your head and you're answering for them, right? All these different scenarios that can come up. It's like, I control no one but me. The only person I control is myself. The only thing I actually really do control is if I choose to react to something or not. And then if I do choose to react to it, how I choose to react. And that has been a game changer for me. That's something that I've actually learned in dealing with, you and your mental health and our stuff the last few years. Is I had to really come to realize and understand this truth that I don't control you. I can't control your mental health. I control no one but me. What I can control is how I choose to react to it. That's what I can control, and that's where my power lies. So that's a big part of mindfulness and being present for me.
I think that sounds fantastic. And it's true. It is
Well,
true.
you have benefited from it, so.
Well, yeah. One thing
I'm just teasing. I love you.
One thing I was going to add on, there was the squawk, by the way. Did you guys hear the squawk? If you didn't, maybe I'll try and enhance it when I edit.
There's a lot of mating calls happening in this backyard right now. Just real quick, let's talk about being in the moment. So grateful that we're sitting on this patio in this backyard, because we lived in an apartment for 2 years in Austin with no patio even. It was supposed to have a patio, but our unit didn't have a patio. And we've lived here for a year and a half now, and not a day has gone by that I'm not grateful to have a little backyard with a patio again. I'm so grateful for it.
We are pretty much on our patio or in our backyard every day.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So we wanted to bring you guys out here with us today.
Yeah.
So I hope the noises aren't too much. But
yeah.
anyways,
It's nice and peaceful.
Yeah, it is. You were going to say?
One aspect that I have noticed mindfulness taking a much bigger role in my life is I used to white-knuckle it through everything in life.
Yeah, you did.
So, for example, if I bought a new shirt, and when you buy a new shirt, a new pair of pants, or a new dress, you women, there's always tags on it.
Did you just say you women?
You women.
Well, you know what? What about the guys that are listening that like to buy dresses?
For you guys, if you like to buy dresses.
Thank you.
For you women who like to wear
pants.
Pants.
Thank you very much. Okay, proceed.
Whoever wants to wear whatever. Good God.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Right. Did I pass?
Just,
may I continue?
Yes, you may continue.
What was I even saying?
I don't know. I got caught up on you women. My hackles went up. That's not something we like to hear. That's like telling a woman, like, just calm down. It's like, you know what? I'm going to be present in this moment as I throat punch you. Oh, I'm just kidding. Okay, so you would go and buy
all right.
a dress shirt.
So when you buy a garment at a department store.
Now I feel triggered from the Mormon days.
Is that all?
Garments. Okay, yes.
When you buy apparel at a department store.
That is perfect.
There are tags.
Yes.
And more elaborate tags on more elaborate strings and threads and chains, and these things are getting crazier. And so I used to just white knuckle it. So I would just try and rip it with sheer strength. Usually I did it. If I couldn't do that, then I would just bite it and I would just saw it with my sharp incisors.
Yeah.
And if that didn't work, I would figure out some stupid, brutish way of tearing off this tag and probably ripping my shirt in the process.
Probably.
So at first I thought that this new change I'm about to tell you was older tendencies creeping in, because we just turned 40 this year. Maybe I'm starting to, get a little elderly, a little early. But I think what it is I'm just taking my time to do things. And so the other day I bought a few new items of apparel
Work
for
clothes.
me.
Go
Work
ahead.
clothes.
Yeah, you look hot in them too. Holy
thank you.
shit. You are sexy.
Well, I had to match you.
Oh, thanks.
So I was taking off these tags and I went to rip off one tag and I was thinking, I know I can, and I just don't feel like having the string like slice into the skin of my fingers. I don't feel like actually using my muscles right now. And so I went and grabbed scissors and came over and just very normally cut through the string, took it off, put it to the side, and I just did that for all the new clothes I bought. And I remember thinking about it and like, wow, in the past I would have just ripped and bit and clawed and shredded my way through those clothes. And
it's very intense.
Yeah, it's just nuts how much I white knuckled everything in my life.
Instead of just simply walking over to the drawer and getting some scissors.
Yes, and it's like now I've become more economical with my decision making and my actions.
Oh, I like that. Economical with my decision making.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like Jerry Seinfeld says, if someone says, hey, turn around and look at this, you know what? No, I'll just catch it on the way back.
Yeah. Like, no, I'm too old. I've probably seen it.
Yes. And so at first you think he's just old. He's just an old
cynical
fart. But it's actually being economical with your movements and your time. It's like, you know what? Sure, I'll look at it, but I'll get it on the way back.
Yeah.
And I find myself doing stuff like that more often now. And it's great. I love it.
That's amazing. I think human beings have always had a go tendency, right? Like, survival and life and go. But we all know that's amplified now. Like, people expect each other and ourselves to be available 24/7. It's this franticness. Being busy is glorified. Success is based off of how many hours a day you work and how much money is in your account, and again, easier said than done to change that thinking, especially when you live in a society who isn't going to change their thinking with you. So to be mindful with your time and to slow down and to see, success a little bit differently, I think is phenomenal, but I think it's harder and harder to do. So let's talk about practicing everyday, like, mindfulness. It's going to be different.
Real quick, let me just add on what you're saying. So in the past, when you said that, humans have always been go, you're right, but only at times because of fight or flight.
Right.
So at times, you need to run like hell or do something really hard, really fast for a short amount of time. But then the rest of the time, you can chill. Whereas nowadays, like what you're saying, we're on the go 100 miles an hour, 24/7, 365. So
and I was one of those people that glorify busy for sure.
Yeah, I have been.
My ego was at the forefront in everything I did about 5 years ago. About I want to say 2 years ago, I got slow down tattooed on my wrist. And it's taken me 2 years of transitions, meditations, changes in my life for that to actually be applicable. So these changes don't happen overnight for most of us. It's a very ongoing thing, and we get frustrated because we slip up a lot, and it's a constant recentering. And yes, meditation helps, but not just meditation, right? So going to bed at night and being like, you know what, at 9 o'clock my phone goes off. If you're on call, then it goes across the room on a charger, or if you can't turn it off for whatever reason, but it doesn't need to be next to your head. Like this electronic that's on next to your head.
Emitting electromagnetic radiation the whole night.
Yes. So, if you have a hard time with that, then setting I have time limits set now on my screen time. So I have to enter a passcode and approve and ask myself for permission for another 15 minutes or an hour or whatnot for all my work apps. So email, social medias, even Safari, I even put on there sometimes. So getting up in the morning and being like, okay, like checking in with yourself. How am I feeling? Am I frazzled? Am I stressed out? Am I anxious? And why? And start kind of thinking about that instead of getting on a phone and scrolling. We wake up, most of us, and we get on our phones and we scroll through whatever it is, whether it's Twitter or Instagram or the news sites or, whatever your favorite board is or blogs are. We all have stuff that we kind of fill our time with as distractions, which isn't always a bad thing, but we do it a lot more now. And so instead of getting up and checking in with yourself and seeing where you're at mentally and physically and thinking about what your needs are for the day as you get up and you walk to the bathroom and you sit down to pee and you kind of close your eyes again because you're tired and you're thinking about yesterday or, what you need to do today and what you can put off till later. And, and then you're like, oh yeah, you kind of wake up and you pee, and you kind of just get and just going through this just movement of just thought and checking in with yourself. Most of us are instantly just scrolling. We're literally scrolling other people's thoughts, other people's opinions, other people's stories, other people's articles, and we're not even checking in with ourselves.
Absorbing their
We're just absorbing
emotions.
everyone's else's instead of unpacking our own stuff.
Right.
And no wonder we have anxiety. Jesus, you're never even, it's like, it's hard to even get centered with yourself. And then on top of that, you're taking in so much other information and it really is a overload. It's a complete overload. And then, most of us, it's like we're taking in other people's problems or checking emails before we've even poured our first cup of coffee or made our breakfast. And then a lot of us, especially parents, and I've talked about this on a self-care podcast, we're not even eating breakfast, and it's lunchtime. We realize we haven't eaten. So, practicing mindfulness day to day, even if you have to get up, get your kids ready, get them to school, or get up and get ready and go to work. When you're driving to work, you can do a mindfulness exercise, you can Google like driving meditation and it's being in the moment instead of making a phone call, changing the radio station, doing this, doing that. It's like put on a podcast, put on a book, or turn off everything and just my hands are on the steering wheel. I'm looking at this car. I'm driving behind, just being really present in the moment. And then by the time you get to work or you drop your kids off at school, you might find you're way less frazzled because you're not changing the station and doing this and doing that and taking this phone call and texting these people back and then scrolling through, doing a post on Instagram, checking it. That's a lot. And it's like not even 9-10 a.m. in the morning.
It is a lot.
Practicing that mind and then later being like, okay, I need to do this post today, or I need to check in with this person, or I need to do this for my kids' school. But while you're going shopping for your kids' school, for whatever school party is coming up, you're focused on that. You're not focused on 10 other things while you're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we practice this more, I'll go to the grocery store and I realize that almost everyone there has one foot in the past and one foot in the future, like you said. And you can see it and you can feel it.
Yeah, I wish there was a way I could help others come to that realization in an easier way, but it's just we're all different. We all learn things at a different rate, at a different pace, in different ways, and this is one of those things. And it's not an easy lesson to learn. Being someone who has struggled with mental health issues and had a good amount of symptoms and conditions to choose from, probably. I personally feel that a lot of mental health boils down to being stuck in the past or the future or both. But that's not saying it's an easy thing to fix. Oh, let's just be in the present and all of a sudden I'm cured. No, it's not that. It's hard.
But what it is this is what it is. Exactly. Yeah, if somebody is saying, oh, if you meditate and practice mindfulness and you live in the present, you'll never have anxiety or depression again, they're fucking lying. So they're lying to themselves if they're saying that. So
True.
What it is, though, is checking in with yourself and then be like, okay, I'm feeling frustrated. Noises are getting to me. And then it's like, why? I feel scared. Why? Or I feel anxiety. Why? It's then being present with that feeling and giving yourself the time and space to figure out why you're feeling that way. And then maybe meditating on that, or maybe figuring out why. Or, a lot of times when we have fears or anxiety, it's because we're worried about something in the future, or it's because we don't know some information. So looking up the information you need and feeling a little bit more secure in whatever it is. So being mindful and present isn't about never having anxiety or depression or mental health issues, but it's about being in the moment with them, right? Because if you're struggling with any kind of mental health stuff, and you're constantly focused on the past or future, then you're never in the moment, like checking in with how you're feeling now and why, and working through it now. And if you're having mental health struggles, you need to be focusing on the now, right now. Like, you deserve that. You deserve to be present in the moment with what you're going through right now.
That was amazing.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks.
Yeah, I agree completely.
And I was having a hard time not getting distracted by the hummingbird that was going by. Hummingbirds are amazing.
I have, as many of you probably know, if you follow us on social media, I have opened up another chiropractic office. And I feel like my skills as a chiropractor have moved up to another level. I was already really good before.
Yes, you were.
And I feel like now, because of this mindfulness that I have, I feel like it's just enhanced my abilities and my skills to deliver really good adjustments to people and really truly help people the way I want to help them. And
yeah,
it's awesome.
That's neat. Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to help with anything that we're doing. It's helped me with my traveling and just being in the moment. That's how I've gotten through the last few events, especially now that I'm feeling pretty done, and just being in the moment. Like, literally, I'm at the airport right now. That's all I have to think about, and then when I land, I just have to get my bag. I just have to get my ride. I just have to check in at the airport, at the hotel. Then I can get something, and like one thing at a time, instead of being like, I need to do this and get my bag and do the, and like you're stressed out. And it's like, really, all I need to do in this moment is walk to baggage claim. It's all I need to do right now, And so it's helped me a lot with traveling this year and speaking and with social media and work. And, when you're practicing mindfulness and being present, I think it goes hand in hand with boundaries too, right? Because you're going to just, I don't know, I've set just different boundaries in a very gentle way, just with my time and my energy. And I realize if I'm going to keep showing up for, whether it's a sponsored post or an event or that if I'm going to keep doing this, show up and keep showing up, then I also have to slow down and set boundaries with my time and my energy.
Absolutely. You do.
So being present, I have noticed, also includes self-care and boundaries for me. I feel like they all go hand in hand. Mindfulness, self-care, and boundaries really, and it really just becomes a different way of like thinking and approaching your day and your life. And some days are easier than others, of course. And you're still going to have feelings that pop up. But what I have found is if I'm having a particularly anxious day, or I realize I'm about to start my period or whatever it is, because I'm being mindful of where I'm at physically and mentally, then I can slow down. And then if I have a lot of energy one day because I'm being mindful, I'll realize today's the day of the week that I'm going to get a shit ton done because I know I have it today. Right?
Absolutely.
So it really does help, like just overall and generally, and just not just day to day, but your week and how it kind of unfolds. And you'll have days where you might rest more and days where you work more because you're being mindful about where you're at, for me, hormonally, mentally, and physically.
I agree 100%.
Anything else you want to add?
It's getting a little warmer because our second AC unit just kicked in back there.
Did it? Is that why it's so loud?
That's why it's all of a sudden louder.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe we should.
Hopefully it's not too loud for you wonderful listeners.
Well, I hope that there was some just good information and insight and tips on just being in the moment a little bit more day to day. It's a practice and it's going to come to us all differently.
It's just a daily, hourly, minute by minute, second by second practice.
I find when I'm having a really hard time with it, it's because I need to meditate. So I use an app like Headspace or Expectful, or I need rest. I need sleep.
Or sleep, yeah.
Yeah. And that's usually the culprit. If I'm really not able to slow down and be in the moment, it's because I'm just too sleep deprived. So my brain's like, screw you, we're going to go live in the past for a while. Or screw you, we're going to worry about a bunch of stuff in the future that probably won't even come to pass. And it's like, no.
We should do a sleep podcast.
Yeah, I thought we did one. We'll go back and
Well,
look.
we'll do another one.
Okay.
We know more now.
Well, we told everyone on the last episode we would do a podcast on this.
Chiropractic.
And then on chiropractic.
Yes.
And I told Brandon, I was like, we mention that sometimes how we'll do a podcast on a topic, then we don't do it. So go back and listen to what we mentioned in the last one, and we're going to do those. So
yeah. So, well, we did one, and
Yes.
next time we'll do chiropractic.
Yes. And I also am going to have Nicole Streeter with Laurel and Fig on as a guest to talk about postpartum and postpartum care during that season soon. So
and then I can thank her for giving my wife sexy shirts.
There you go. No, you know what? You're not invited to this episode.
Oh,
It's going to be for, those females. What did you say earlier?
those women.
Those women. Yeah. It's going to be for those women. Okay. Oh man, it's good thing you get sexier with age. All right, you guys.
That's good. I'm glad you think so.
Until next time.
Adios.
Love ya.